So here we have it, the 2023 Ducati Diavel V4. It's an absolute beast. We're here on the launch of it in Dubai, and I can't talk about the riding experience. We've actually done some night riding on this and a day's worth of riding today, but what I wanted to do was talk over some of the main features of it. So we'll start at the back. It's got the traditional huge in-your-face Diavel rear tyre on it. So it's a 240 profile Pirelli Diablo Rosso 3. Stonking product and enormous. There's just no escaping it. It's the first thing that draws your eye, and it's a huge talking point. If you want a statement motorcycle, well, this is exactly what you're getting with a tyre that size. So we'll move on from there to the exhaust cans. So there are 4 cans, and the reason being that Ducati wanted to hammer home the fact that this bike is now V4. So you get these little stubby cans. From this side it looks nice and tidy, but I've got to be honest, you look down here, hopefully you can see, it's enormous. It's a huge old system behind there, where the catalytic converter is and such like. In fact, one of the engineers was telling me, if you were to fit what they call the Spitfire exhaust, which is a kind of OE aftermarket option from Akrapovic via Ducati, I think it saves 11 kg and boosts the power by 12 brake horsepower. It's not road legal, but I can imagine a lot of people are going to be bolting those on if they buy this bike. So we'll move on from there. So we have got the rear light system here. It's a dot matrix design. So within these pockets here, you get lights lighting up and kind of punching out a silhouette. In fact, to tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to just walk around, turn the bike on. So it's keyless, so just push that, dash fires into life, and we'll have a look at the riding lights. So that's what you get. It's quite a cool feature. I like the look of it, and obviously when you're pushing on the brake pedal, I'll try and do 2 things at once. Let's have a go. Then you get the full effect of those lights lighting up. So nice and in your face. And I've got to say, last night riding on the mountain pass and seeing those lights, it was just awesome. Really fantastic design, very stylish, very practical as well. There's no mistaking the fact someone is braking on this bike, let me tell you. So we'll move on. As again with Diavels of old, it's got these folding pegs. Access to the under seat lock is just there. But I like that. They, just pop down when you want them, and likewise with the seat cover, it comes on and off as you so please. Moving on, so look at the pegs. So it's really hard to actually talk about this bike with conviction without being able to explain what it's like to ride. But if you have a good look at the state of those pegs, you probably don't need me to tell you too much about ground clearance. Interestingly, there was plenty of scope with this bike to raise the peg height. But again, the engineers said that the ergonomics and the character of this bike as a power cruiser were more important than compromising its feel through raising the pegs for a bit more ground clearance. So that's the reason they are where they are. And in typical circumstances, with respectful riders on the bike, I'm sure that the pegs will last forever. So the biggest difference to the Diavel is this here, the motor. So it's the V4 Gran Turismo spec, as you see there. So it's similar to what you'd find in the Multistrada. In fact, it's almost identical, albeit with a few differences. So the camshaft's different, and also the airbox. And the main reason for that is that alongside going to a V4 configuration, Ducati's now gone for what they deem a front frame, and within that frame is the airbox, so along the same lines as a Panigale V4, for example. So another big difference is the fact it's got a counter-rotating crankshaft as well. So again, as per all of Ducati's V4s, which is meant to be great in the handling department, because I guess it contradicts the gyroscopic effect of the wheels, which want the bike to stay upright. It rotates the other way around and just enables you to, there's not so much inertia when you're trying to move this bike. Well, there's not so much gyroscopic effect when you're trying to put this bike into a corner. So it's a clever system, and that's now a feature on this bike. Alongside the deactivation of the rear cylinders. So they're the rear cylinders there, the front cylinders just there. so those stay on permanently, but below 4,000 RPM in any gear above first, the rear cylinders will be knocked off. And the reasons for that are twofold. So firstly, so that you're not getting hot as a rider. If you're cruising along at 5,000, 6,000 RPM or whatever, you know, this is a big bike, it's very compact, and those cylinders aren't too close. That, you know, there's your feet, your kind of legs are going to be in this area here. You're near to those rear cylinders, so to make you a bit more comfortable, they knock them off, so it runs nice and cool. The other thing is it helps with emissions, which in today's world is massively crucial. So in terms of performance, so the actual power of the bike is up, so Ducati's claiming 168 horsepower, not brake horsepower, so I think that's about 164 brake horsepower, somewhere in that region, and 123 Newton meters of torque, which means it's down a few Newton meters, but it's neither here nor there. But that's what you're getting. The actual wheelbase of the bike is pretty much the same as what came before. The weight bias is slightly more front end friendly, so 51% front. The trail, I think, is reduced as well. It's got a bit of a sharper approach to it. So again, from a handling point of view, it's going to make the bike easier to throw around. Another big change is the fact that for the first time Ducati's gone for Brembo style lemurs on this, so a fantastic product. If ever you've used a bike with these are kind of now the staple choice for any machine that is sporting and wants to stop quick. And what's really interesting about this bike is Ducati claim that it will out accelerate and out decelerate even a V4, and a lot of the reason for that is the wheelbase. So, you know, you're up in the 1500 sector with this. It's long and the weight is low, so what it means is it's easy to get the power down without the front being lifted and all the rest of it. And likewise, because it's low and there's a lot of mass and it's nice and stable, you can really squeeze on the brakes hard. So stopping it is pretty important. With a lot of mass here, I think the weight is claimed around, I think it's 243 kg wet, albeit with no fuel in the tank, interestingly, 20 litre tank. So you're talking probably another 20 litres fueled up, another 20 kg fueled up. So over 260 kg fully laden with fuel, and all the rest of it is substantial, so you need good brakes, the point being. So aesthetically, it still looks Diavel, but with a modern twist. It still looks muscly, and you know, there's no mistake in this bike. It's a statement, there's no two ways about it. I'll just turn the bars. So here you've got new daytime riding lights, which again they just kind of go, everything with this bike just goes nicely. They're a real eye-catching feature, alongside these bar mounted indicators here, so they're quite cool. Overall, Ducati's started afresh with this machine. They've made it 13 kg lighter, it's more powerful, it's lower, the seat height is higher, but everything is more compact about the bike, and I think they've done a cracking job. As I said, I can't really talk about the riding experience, but that will all come in the reviews. But hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight. I guess the last thing I should probably touch on is the tech on this machine. So it's a familiar sight for Ducati owners, nice and intuitive to kind of operate and alter. So there are 4 riding modes on this bike here. So wet, urban, touring, sport, and you can go into all of them and change everything from how much power you have to the level of traction control, ABS, wheelie control, how your quick shifter operates, all that kind of stuff. So there's loads to go at. I guess another thing just to touch on is the fact that there's a button just up here, DPL, which is actually the launch control system on this bike. So if you're desperate to beat that Nova away from the traffic lights, lucky for you, you've got 3 tiers of launch control. So you push this button, and this is the feistiest, level 1, level 2, level 3, select what you want, and then it's a case of basically pinning the throttle, as it tells you there, pull the clutch, engage first gear, open the throttle and go. So if you like your tech and if you trust it, then there's so much to go at. And there we go.